Your Honor, I'm going to get the live streaming started and then we should be ready to go at 4:30. We are good to go, Your Honor.
No. Are we off mute, Scott? Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our Des Moines City Council meeting for February 8th. Appreciate everybody coming, and it looks like we're facing some really cold weather. So hopefully let's try to make sure we keep everybody warm. And I know that there's been warnings that have gone out. And I know that everybody's working to try to keep anybody that is having trouble with warm sheltered enclosure someplace to there are solutions to that, and we have released those. So I thank our staff for working on that, and I think it's important. Let's call this meeting to order, and I will ask the clerk please to take roll.
County,
Here.
Boson,
Here.
Voss,
Here.
Gray,
Here.
Westergaard,
Here.
Mandelbaum,
Here.
Gatto.
Here.
Your Honor, we have a quorum. Did I miss Voss?
No, I said here, but I'll say
Okay.
here again.
No, I just
Here,
wanted to
here.
make sure. It didn't sound like I had everybody. So yes, Your Honor, we have a quorum. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Item 2 is approving the agenda as presented and or as amended. I will say that the consent agenda items, there's a 4B, which was added. It's affirm a Class C liquor license at 216 Court Avenue, and for the firm, and it's item 6 is added, the firm at 216 Court Avenue also. So those are the only 2 amendments, but I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda as presented with those amendments.
I'll move approval of the agenda.
All right, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposition? Hearing none. Items passed. Item 3 is approving the consent agenda. Tonight, those are items 3 through 45. Generally, these are routine items, and they're enacted as one vote without separate discussion unless someone, the council or public, requests an item to be removed and considered separately, and then that request is considered by the council as a whole. Generally, those are items that are general city business, and we ask if those that would like, if we don't pull a particular item, that you would submit any letters or emails or texts or phone calls to either city clerk or the manager's office with any additional comments or requests for information to make sure that we're getting out as much as you would like. So again, those items are 3 through 45.
I'll move item 3, Your Honor.
Okay, item 3 has been moved. I will say that item 5, I vote no. Item 17, Councilmember Gray wants to make a quick comment. Item 23, Councilmember Gray wants to make a quick comment. And item 29, Councilmember Westergaard wants to make a comment. Anybody have anything else? We do have a motion. I will quickly ask if there's anybody in the general public that would like to have something. I see Indira. Do you have any items?
Hi, I wanted to ask you to remove item 45. This was on the last agenda, like talking about rezoning a flood district to a neighborhood 2B. And I know that county, you specifically had mentioned that you wanted to make sure that all the proper precautions were taking place. I wanted to know what the update on that was, so I'd like it pulled from the consent agenda just so we can make sure that that's what's happening.
All right, item 45 has been requested. Adam.
Hello, my name is Adam Callanan. I use he, him pronouns. I would like to request item 18I removed because for some reason in the agenda, there was no information about the actual appointees, which seemed unusual. And we have word that one of the appointees might be Ed Fallon, who has been pushed out of several organizations for allegations of sexual harassment. So yeah, we'd like that pulled so we can discuss it.
Okay. Luke.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I would like item 32 removed. Officer Brian Minahan has been accused and found to have racially profiled a number of residents in Des Moines over the last few years, and also was involved in a high-speed chase that resulted in the death of a bystander that he should not have started. It shouldn't be on our police force anymore. So I don't think it's right that the Des Moines City Council supports him with paying for that legal counsel. So yeah, I'd like 32 removed.
Reverend Emily Ewing.
Hi, this is Pastor Emily. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I would like number 33 moved. It's unclear to me what this is, but if this is regarding the class action suit against the city because of the police brutality last summer, I would like it to be removed as someone who was a victim of the police brutality and unjust arrests. This is a bizarre thing to me that we would be continuing to seek to defend rather than intentionally being proactive in making amends and removing the charges.
Okay. Eileen?
Hi, yeah, I was just also going to ask to pull item number 33. I don't feel like right now there's enough on the consent agenda to actually understand what's going on there and why public funds would be used for that. So just echo on the last request for item 33 to be pulled.
Jalen?
Yes, I would like item number 32 to be pulled, echoing Luke's comments. Officer Brian Minahan is a violent and racist police officer who should not be on our force. We should not be voting to pay money to retain counsel to represent him. Please remove that from the consent agenda. It needs to be discussed.
All right. Council, we have the 3 items that council members have requested to make quick comment on. Items 17 and 23 for Gray, 29 for Westergaard. There is a request to pull 45, 18I, 32, and 33. So would I think, Joe, did you make the motion? How would you like to carry forward? You want to, yeah, there's a motion. Is there a motion to remove any of those other items? 45, 18I, 32, or 33? All right, hearing none. We have a motion. Let's poll the council.
County,
Yes,
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
all right.
Your Honor, I don't think we needed to poll any of those items, but council did get an update on item 45, the floodplain piece from the city engineer. And I know since we talked about it at the last meeting and there was a request on that, I wouldn't be opposed to taking a minute or two to hear from the city engineer so that the public can get the same update that we did on the measures being met from a floodplain perspective.
Council, would you like to reconsider number 45?
I don't think.
A motion for an update by Councilmember Mandelbaum to get a update from city engineering to clarify what has been sent out. Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Sure.
We need to have a vote on it. It's just clarification.
It's clarification.
Do we need to reconsider it, or do we just need to give an update that we had the information that they still have to go through the building department to get all the.
If everybody's okay with that.
We can just have Steve give everyone an update. I don't think we need to reconsider it, do we, Your Honor?
No.
Okay.
Okay, let's go ahead. We'll start with item 17. Item 17 is I believe, a land property transaction. 17 is authorization to proceed with the acquisition of the necessary property interest for the 34th Street and Lido Avenue intersection improvements project. Council communication number 21-053. Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. This is, I'll be quick. It was brought up at the Beaverdale Neighborhood Association meeting last Thursday, and the BNA president wanted to make sure he thanked engineering for looking into this. As many of you know, it was about a year ago that we had a couple of accidents that took out the big fence over there as you bend over from Urbandale Avenue onto Lido, and they were glad to see that we finally hopped on it. So I'm going to move item 17.
All right, item 17 has been moved. Thank you for the update, Bill, and the requested comment from the neighborhood. Pull the council, please.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Okay, item 23, it's a setting a data hearing, which is on the request from JCAM Group LLC, which is the owner, to amend the Plan DSM, creating our tomorrow future land use classification and to rezone property located at 1503 Fifth Avenue from N5 Neighborhood District to N5-2 Neighborhood to allow the property to be converted to a 2-household use duplex. And that hearing will be heard February 22nd of 21. Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Mayor, once again. This one kind of came up on us. I've talked with the Riverbend Neighborhood Association. I think we'd like to take another talk at this and make sure that we're going the right way, because it's all single family dwelling around there now. So I'd like to, instead of having the hearing on the 22nd, maybe move it to March 8th so we can get all the information and talk to city staff, if that would make sense.
Okey-doke.
And if we can do it, then I'm going to make the motion that we do have the hearing on March 8th, 2021.
All right, Scott, do you want to make a quick comment on it?
I do not see why that would be a problem. Let's see. If Mike Ludwig is on, Mike, we should be okay with that, right? Hasn't been published yet or anything of that nature? Or would we need to open it up and then continue it?
It's actually been scheduled for Thursday publication. We can try to get it stopped, but it has been scheduled with the paper.
Mike? Can you unmute that?
Yes, Mayor, County, members of the council, Michael Ludwig, Deputy Director of Development Services. Yeah, the only thing is the notice that gets advertised in the paper. So that's a scheduled advertisement. We would have to cancel that and reschedule it for no later than, no more than, I think it's 4 and 20 on public hearing notices. So we would have to delay that order that we've placed with the paper for the publishing of the notice.
Let me ask you this, Mike. Could we get together here in the next couple of days to go over this? And then we can probably stick with the 22nd. As long as we can get it done by this week, I'm good with it.
Yeah, I can schedule a Zoom meeting with you to discuss it. Other than that, the set hearing has the information from the Plan and Zoning Commission hearing on this item.
And I think we could continue it, could we not, if we reach an impasse?
Yeah, if you go ahead with the 22nd, you could continue it on that evening to the 22nd.
If need be.
I'm sorry, to the 8th, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
All right.
If that's the case, then I'll move item 23.
All right, thanks, Mike. Hold the council, please. Item's been moved.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Okay, item 29 is also a setting a date of hearing. Councilmember Westergaard has asked to poll 29 on a proposed amendment to zoning ordinance scheduled for February 22nd also. Linda?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I will move item 29. I just wanted to add a couple of thoughts that the amendments that are recommended in this in the zoning ordinance are great, and they're very pleased with the changes that I see. I thank Scott Sanders, who I've talked to several times regarding this, and city staff for working on it. I want to proceed with the hearing, but I really would like to go a step farther and would like us to have continued conversations about changing this entire street back to residential. Just since August, we've had a fire and the person was held up getting permits. He wanted to add on to his house and was told he couldn't. We had another person who lost their garage in the derecho and had to go through plan and zoning to get the zoning changed so she could build a garage, all at great expense to our residents. Now we have another home. It's had at least, I'm told from 2 different lenders, that there's been at least 3 offers made on a home. And what's holding it up is the industrial zoning of this house. So this will help, and this will make it so lenders will loan money. But I really would like us to continue that conversation about changing that zoning back to residential. And with that, I will move item 29.
All right, item 29 has been moved. Connie, comment?
I was just going to bring up, are there, I know once we change the zoning, are there other areas within the city that are having some of the similar situations that we might want to have more conversation? So I just bring that up. Nothing against the motion or anything, but just for future reference.
Okay, thank you.
And if I could just add, Connie, yes, I've talked to Stephanie Murphy at Neighborhood Finance, and they are running into this in other parts of the city also where they've changed zoning.
So there's a bigger conversation on that probably, so we can get a clearer picture of what we need for the city.
I would think so.
All right. Item's been moved. Poll the council.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right. We have a request on item 45, which is a rezoning of property at 3900 Southeast 34th Street from F flood district to limited N2B neighborhood district to allow the property to be filled and developed with a one household dwelling, living dwelling use. A is a final consideration of the ordinance about the waivers requested by James Andrew and Nancy M. Albright Andrew, who are the owners. It requires 6 votes. Councilmember Mandelbaum has asked that Scott, that we get a quick update and clarification on a note that was sent out to council that maybe we could give the general public. Scott?
Yes, and I see that Steve is available to talk about the communication that was provided. Steve, you want to hit the high points and see if we can better explain it?
Thank you. Honorable Mayor, members of City Council, this is Steve Neighbor, City Engineer. I'd like to point out that please know that the proposed ordinance amending the zoning map to rezone this property at 3900 Southeast 34th Street includes the 3 key conditions. One is any site modification, filling, and permitting and development must have an approved conditional letter of map revision from the federal government, from FEMA. So any development will have to go through FEMA to secure that, to basically amend the flood maps for that. And the owner shall provide that letter map revision with the as-built conditions. Number 2, any site modification, filling, and permitting shall be subject to the requirements of Chapter 50 of the city's Code for Floodplain Development. And I'm very proud as our city council has took some excellent steps, to say the least, improving our flood standards last year with amending Chapter 50 to be honest, to increase, to provide more protection to our residents, with things such as improving the minimum flood protection elevation from 1 feet to 3 feet, requiring that the volume of fill added to the floodplain is compensated at a ratio of 1.5 to 1, essentially in essence leaving the site in a better situation hydraulically than pre-development, and as well as a number of other requirements, but those are the ones I like to point out the most, that would be subject to this property as they go through the site plan process. They have not submitted a site plan, but these are the standards that they would need to meet. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Hopefully that clarifies that, Councilmember Mandelbaum. And you want to move it, or
it's already been.
Already been.
Okay, already been moved. Pull the council.
No, it's just already voted on. It's okay. It was just an update.
Okay, that was just an update for those in the audience looking and watching. That item is already passed, but we've given you a clarification on it. So Thanks, Steve, for doing that. That ends our consent agenda. Let's turn to item 46, which is ordinances. First consideration, amending chapter 26-904 and 26-905 related to revised deadlines for submittal of energy and water use benchmarking reports and exemptions. Council communication number 21-052. A is the final consideration of the ordinance above. The waiver is requested by the city manager and requires 6 votes. Council, any comments? Josh?
Yeah, well, I'll move item 46 and 46A. This, for those wanting to know, I mean, this is essentially based on staff recommendations as they've worked to implement the program and work with partners at Mid-American and Des Moines Waterworks in terms of when data is made available in aggregate to the building owners. They thought that some additional time would help with compliance and help provide a little more time between when the property owners got the data and had to report. So it's pretty much continuing to work cooperatively to make sure that folks have the opportunity to comply.
I'm not cooking in great big pans, so it might have.
And so I'm happy to move this item and just wanted to provide that explanation.
All right. Thank you. Item's been moved. Any other comment? Poll the council, please.
County,
Yes. For
Boson,
46 and 46A.
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
No,
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
No.
Your Honor, that's 5 yes, 2 no's, motion carries.
All right, thank you. So item 46 passes. The A court requires 6 votes. So we will need to have a couple more votes.
That's
on
correct.
it, for that. So we'll move on for item 47. Item 47 is amending chapter 114 municipal code regarding traffic regulation changes as follows. Council communication number 21-070. A is code modification to extend commercial loading zone on the east side of 18th Street between Woodland and Grand Avenues. And B is a code modification to restrict parking and remove commercial loading zone on the west side of 5th Avenue between Mulberry and Walnut Streets. Council? Amending chapter 114.
I'll move item 47A and B. And if there's no discussion, I'll move to waive the second and third reading as well.
All right. Anybody? Seeing none, poll the council, please.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
yes,
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yeah. Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion does carry.
All right. Item 47I is approving the Public Works Stormwater Infrastructure Advisory Committee's annual report regarding the status of community goals. Council communication number 21-051. Right, council?
I'll move 47I
All right.
and thank the group for all the work they've put in.
Your Honor, Gloria Hoffman is here to make a statement on that.
Okay, and Gloria is a committee member, so we will allow her to speak. Gloria?
Gloria, to unmute, you hit *6.
There you go.
Not right.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor and City Council members. I appreciate the opportunity to address a few points from this report, which I know you have received and I hope you have read or will read. As you know, there are 9 members of the Stormwater Infrastructure Advisory Committee from all 4 wards. All are represented. All of the folks on our committee have been involved in stormwater issues since the flood of 2018. It's a fine group and we're dedicated to the goals that are set forth in the report. And there's been a lot to learn, and we've probably learned more than we ever wanted to about stormwater. We've had very good information from staff, in particular from Patrick Bean, who's our coordinator and also our prime source of information. We've asked questions and we have identified some issues along the way. We've also made suggestions about the process of proceeding on this report. 3 of our 4 scheduled meetings have included information from CDM Smith, which is the firm with which you've contracted to do the citywide assessment and help us prepare a master plan. And we also had a work session with them in January, working on a survey, which will be forthcoming within the next couple, 3 weeks. There will be more information about this. I can't emphasize enough that anyone and everyone who has had stormwater problems or stormwater flooding needs to complete this survey. It will be the basis for our master plan, and it will help the committee and CDM Smith prepare this master plan and get things done in a timely manner. Also for the council, I would ask that you please contact folks in your wards that you know have had stormwater problems, flooding problems, and encourage them to participate in this survey when it becomes available, which will be quite soon. It's estimated that our master plan recommendations will take several years to complete. They will include commitment. I mentioned this before, but they will require commitment from both the current staff and council members and also future councils and staff. And they will prevent a funding challenge, which we're all aware of. Our committee members have indicated a willingness to help explore and pursue funding options should it be needed so that these projects can be completed in a timely manner. And finally, I strongly represent, and the committee recommend, and this committee also recommends, that as these projects are completed, and they will be beginning in the spring, as soon as probably around the 1st of April, and that as they're completed, we do signage, we use any media opportunities that are possible to let the community know what we're doing, and also to celebrate when we finish things, because we have a commitment to using the stormwater taxes and also the local option taxes as we have promised they would be used. And I think this is really good PR for the city. On behalf of the committee, we appreciate the opportunity to serve on this committee. We feel it's a critical issue for the city's future, and we do thank you. Any questions?
Gloria, I want to thank you and all your fellow committee members. Your input has been valuable. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
I just want to thank Gloria too, Mayor, for her perseverance and bringing this to a higher level for all of us, her whole group. She and Jenny, I think, brought total awareness to all of us on what we need to do and step up to make it better for our citizens so that they don't have the water issues that we've had in the past. So I appreciate all the work and time they've put into it.
You're absolutely right, Connie. But both Gloria and Jenny have put many hours into this. We've had many meetings, many of them right there in their front lawn. So appreciate all the hard work they've done and continued work with them in the future.
Bill, do you want to move it?
I think I did.
I think
Okay,
Connie did.
All right, Connie, thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, would you poll the council?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, it's 5:03. We need to move to the hearing items. I want to make a couple of comments. First, for the hearings tonight, we don't have any zoning items tonight, so there are several vacation hearings and a maximum tax levy hearing and other hearing items. So for the hearings this evening, the public may raise your hands immediately upon me reading the item for comment that are germane to that item only. For the maximum property levy hearing, we'll see how it goes. We're going to allow a minute and a half per speaker for anyone who would like to speak on that. We'd like the hearing to conclude as we move along in the comments. We want to be non-repetitive, and we want them to be germane. And if they are not, why we're going to have to cut those speakers off and disallow. But we appreciate your understanding. So for the remainder of the hearings this evening, any interested person may make germane comments at not to exceed 1 minute per person on those, to a maximum of 5 minutes per hearing. As a reminder, on the construction hearings, only comments as to the plans, the specifications, and the form of the documents. All other comments will be considered non-germane. And for the lease and vacation hearings, only comments related to the proposal for the particular property will be considered germane. So thank you for your understanding on that. And I want to remind all members of the public that this council business meeting, and that the council will, conduct our meetings as efficiently as we can and in an orderly manner. So let's go ahead and start. Item 50 is on a city-initiated request to vacate a portion of Raccoon Street and Alley right-of-way located between Southeast 4th Street and Southeast 5th Street, north of East Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway. A is the first consideration of the ordinance above. B is the final consideration of the ordinance above. The waiver is requested by Phillip Waveman, our real estate division manager, and requires 6 votes. Let's go ahead and again, germane comments, 1 per person, 5 minutes maximum. Does anybody want to speak on item 50? Seeing none, could we have a motion?
I'll move item 50A and B, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Item 50A and B has been moved. Would you poll the council, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, item 51 is on a vacation of the east-west alley right-of-way located in the block bounded by First Street, Oxford Street, Sheridan Avenue, and Arthur Avenue, and conveyance to Glacier Holdings LLC for $3,600. A is the first consideration of the ordinance above. B is the final consideration of the ordinance above. Again, the waiver is requested by Phil Wageman, a real estate division manager, and requires 6 votes. Anyone from the public? Seeing none, could we get a motion?
Yes, Your Honor, I would make a motion to pass 51A and B. And I just want to say thank you to Phil Wageman, who worked with this business owner to coordinate this, to bring it, to make it happen. And a shout out to the business owner that's purchasing this land. He's not going to use it for anything. He simply is purchasing it so he can make it look better. Right now, it's pretty cluttered and it's not real pretty. and he's just doing it to enhance the neighborhood. So this is a good thing to have happen.
All right, the item's been moved. Would you poll the council, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, on item 52, on the third amendment to a lease agreement with the South Des Moines Little League for the James W. County Baseball Park, council communication number 21-063. Ask if there's anyone in the public want to make comment on this one. Seeing none, could we get a motion?
Your Honor, I'll move 52.
All right, 52 has been moved. Would you poll the council?
There was someone raising their hand in the public.
Well, I understand, but they didn't do it until after we made the motion. But we want to go back?
I thought it looked like the hand was up before the motion, but
All right,
it
well,
doesn't matter to me.
We'll go ahead. Thank you, Josh. Indira, I see your hand up.
Hi, I was just looking at this item and it looked like the South Des Moines Little League went under due to not being able to operate during COVID. And I was wondering, I guess that you guys negotiated a lower payment, but it looked like the numbers were inconsistent on the council communication and on the actual like official document. It looked like it was like $2,500 different. But I was wondering what the reasons were for requiring them to pay for that lease agreement and not just letting it go, if there were like costs at the park, and what the plans were for the park moving forward with uncertainty about COVID and not having anybody leasing at the county baseball park.
All right, let's see if we can get that answered. Scott?
Yeah, Mayor, and as we get maybe Ben available here, Ben Page, my understanding is they requested to get out of the agreement.
Scott, I can probably jump into a little bit. Longtime volunteer Lana James, she's ran that facility, and I think Ben will jump in for probably over 20 years. Her kids are all grown and gone, and I believe that's probably part of the reason that this lease agreement is going to be changed, and because they really don't have anyone to volunteer like Lana did. But we'll let Ben jump in. But Lana needs to be thanked for her years of service of taking care of that park, basically since it's been open.
All right, Ben?
Mayor, County, members of the Des Moines City Council, Ben Page, Parks and Recreation Director. That is correct. For the last 3 years, they've struggled to find the volunteers it takes to run that facility, and they've come to the city asking to be out of their agreement. They've also volunteered to pay the balance of what they can afford to pay, which is short of their normal lease payment. Those funds will be used to restart up, and the city will offer youth sports baseball there for execs, and that'll match up with our other youth sports program. And I want to take a quick minute to advertise the thanks we have for our council that we have a $5 youth sports program that was not offered at this site before, that will be now new with our other youth sports.
All right.
Your Honor, I moved item 52.
All right, 52 has been moved. Would you poll the council, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, thank you. Item 53 is to adopt a resolution establishing the total maximum property tax dollars certified for levy for fiscal year ending June 30 of 2022. It requires 5 affirmative votes. Scott, do you quickly want to touch on what we're doing? This is not the budget exactly itself. It's just setting the maximum property tax dollars.
Yeah, that is correct, Mayor. This is only the second cycle that we've used this process required by the state. And it does simply set the property tax rate maximum, which is in our total rate going to be essentially flat. It will lower to the nearest penny, rounding downward, but essentially we're keeping our total tax rate the same.
It puts a ceiling on it.
This action would put a ceiling on it.
All right, let's ask if there's any of our attendees who would like to make a comment. I'm seeing 3, and I think what we said in there is we'll allow a minute and a half, and let's go ahead and start with you.
Hi, okay, so 53, we're setting the maximum property tax, but it was noted on the document that increases in budget are due to police and fire retirement pay. And I think that that's an issue that we're going to be running into every year, as well as with negotiations. That was prior to any increase in pay. With negotiations with the police union, police pay is going up every year at a rate that we are not going to be able to afford in 3 years, according to the city manager, Scott Sanders, that we won't be able to levy enough taxes to pay for the police budget. So as this is not, like approving the budget right now, you guys are in discussions for that. I also want to acknowledge that this is, the schedule that you guys have for approving the budget doesn't leave a lot of room for any kind of response to public comment, because you have to have it in by March 31st, and you guys are approving the budget on March 8th. So you guys only have a chance to vote no on it. This is something you basically have to vote yes on, or just run into the problem of not having enough, not having a budget on March 31st. I also want to acknowledge the fact that public comment wasn't really taken at the December meeting. It was just basically a slideshow talking about what the budget process is. So you haven't gotten any public comment, and you're not really able to respond to public comment that's happening in this hearing or in the hearing on March 8th. So I want to acknowledge that this is essentially just staff and council deciding what the budget is going to be, and continuing increasing the budget at a rate that we can't pay for, the police budget specifically. So those are my concerns. I'm also just concerned about the increases in police pay, and I would like you guys to defund DMPD in the way that people have been asking for.
Time.
Thank you. I will say that any comments that you might have, and we'll record your comments for all your comments from this evening. But we did receive some the other day after our budget hearing, all-day hearing with the council, going over various departments, and we have responded to the questions that we got, and we'll continue to do so as we move forward. So let's move on to Harley Boldridge. Can you unmute yourself, Harley? There you go.
There we go. Thanks for getting my name right. It is Harley. I would like to also just add in that this is like the 8th time I've talked on council, and my name is still Harley. So looking at the proposed maximum property tax for the next fiscal year, which is the item that we're debating, I wanted to also point out that while we're seeing increase in the fire and police retirement, we're not seeing like equitable increases across FICA, IPERS, and other employee benefits for right here in Des Moines. So I wanted to echo some of what Indira was saying, which is that we know that the police have a nasty habit of taking up a lot of our budget, especially with all of these lawsuits that they keep finding themselves in. But I just was curious if the council could answer to why we're not honoring other city and municipal employees in the same ways that we like to honor police, because it just seems like we have a lot of great people who work around the city to make sure that things are happening, and we're not seeing the equitable increases across those fields.
Adam.
Hello, my name is Adam. I use he, him pronouns. I'd like to echo a lot of the comments from Indira and Harley, but I especially want to point out that we know that we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and it doesn't feel like anything in this proposed budget that the levy is going towards really takes that into account. The fact that we'll probably will have to adjust the budget partway through this year because the pandemic is not nearly over. Last I checked today, we are the 50th state in terms of vaccinations. So this is not something that's going to go away suddenly. It'd be great if it would, but it's not going to. So I just don't think this budget's very realistic. I don't think it's taken that into account. I see why last year we probably weren't prepared for a pandemic, but this year we don't really have an excuse for that. And this just, like I said, it does not feel realistic. It also doesn't have any reaction to the climate chaos that we saw last year with the derecho storm. I don't really see anything in the budget that is going towards taking like mitigation efforts or anything around that. And yeah, to me, it feels very unrealistic for the year that we have in 2020. It doesn't really feel like we're appropriately reacting to the things that happened between the police violence, the climate chaos, and just everything else. That's all.
All right, Hayden.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to echo the words of the people who spoke before me, saying that we need to look at the budget, and all of this money that we're taking from property taxes should be, going to things that the people who live in these properties and pay the taxes actually want. And I wanted to say, echoing what Indira said about not being able to keep up with the prices of paying for the police with needing to raise the tax levy. A good way to not need to do that, would be to defund the police, so we wouldn't have to be paying for them anymore, and then you wouldn't have to raise all of our taxes to pay for the police. So I think that's something that you should be looking into.
Jalen.
Hey, I just wanted to echo what everyone else said and uplift those previous comments. Currently, the Des Moines Police Department is bankrupting our city, which does relate to the levy tax. So yeah, I just wanted to say we should be spending our dollars, our tax money, helping people, not imprisoning them and beating them up. So yeah, just wanted to echo everyone's comments.
All right. Let's turn it back to the council. Could we have a motion on our adopting the maximum property tax levy?
I'll move item 53, Your Honor.
All right, item 53 has been moved. Please poll the council.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, takes us to item 54. Item 54 is the 2021 bridge and culvert repair, a resolution approving the plans, specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, and receive and file bids, and designating the lowest responsible bidder is Minturn Inc. Clinton M. Rhodes is the president, $244,475. Council communication number 21-055A is approval of the contract and the bond and permission to sublet.
There's no other comments. I'll move 54 and 54A.
All right, we'll ask quickly if there's any germane comments to the bridge and culvert repair. All right, item's been moved. Would you poll the council, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Takes us to item number 55. Item 55 is on the 2021 Neighborhood Sidewalk Program. A resolution approving the plans, specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, and receive and file bids, and designate the lowest responsible bidder as TK Concrete Inc. Tony J. Vermeer is the president, $821,579. Council communication number 21-068. A is approval of the contract and the bond and permission to sublet. Let's go ahead and open it up. See if anybody would want to make any comment regarding the neighborhood sidewalk program. Harley?
Hi, it's Harley Boldridge. I just wanted to recommend this. I think it's really great that we're thinking about making the south side more accessible, especially with ADA compliance, which I see is in the bid. I was a little confused about the price of this option, but honestly, it seems like a very small price to pay to making neighborhoods accessible, especially when we consider how much money we're still putting into the police budget. So just thinking about uplifting other comments about defunding the police, I'm curious what's possible for Des Moines if we actually did that.
Casey?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm walking home right now. I just wanted to chime in here and say I'm really supportive of expanding sidewalk access because that is a huge issue for a lot of people who don't have cars. I'm one of them. I take the bus every day, and I know how terrible some sidewalks are in our neighborhood, particularly in the south side, particularly on the east side, where people, generally are receiving less services in general, not just sidewalks. So yeah, I'm supportive of this. I'd like to see an even bigger investment because like this right here, sidewalks is a public safety issue. This is what allows people to get to the grocery store and to the doctor and stuff like that. And if we're spending millions and millions of dollars on police and bullets and stuff and gas, tear gas, for people, some money on sidewalks so people can leave their homes and use the city.
Time.
There you go. Denver?
Denver.
Denver, you're open.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. My name's Denver. This is something that I see and I actually am amazing. Well, we're gonna get some sidewalks, and especially in the south side where we need it the most. I want us to put into consideration that making sidewalks accessible is amazing, but during the winter they need to be accessible for bus riders, for the person that said before me, that people rely on sidewalks to get to the hospital, to get to the grocery store and pick up their medication and everything. But I just wanted to share that we should think about the accessibility between the road and the sidewalk where the snow gets pushed up on and it becomes detrimental to handicap and making that accessible. So I just wanted to share that.
All right. Jalen.
Hi. Yes, I actually really want to uplift Denver's comments and Casey's before that. I actually was going to say the same thing as Denver, because I do support this and I do support us getting more accessible sidewalks in our neighborhoods. But yeah, in the wintertime, the snow gets pushed up. Bus stops get blocked. Actually, there's a new mutual aid project that was started just by community members to shovel out bus stops just to make them more accessible for other community members. So I think the city should use some resources to maybe look into that and hire some folks to actually get that job done so it doesn't have to be volunteer led by people in the community. Yeah, sidewalks are great. We should stop spending money on police and we should spend more money on sidewalks and accessibility for our city. Thank you.
Emily.
Hi, this is Pastor Emily. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. Echoing what others have said, I think it's really important that we continue to invest in making Des Moines, especially the South Side, more accessible for folks. And this includes not only this awesome project of getting sidewalks and making sure that they're good sidewalks, but also, as Jalen and others previous to him have said, making sure that we're plowing sidewalks and plowing bus stops and making sure that in the wintertime, in the snow, it's accessible. And I will also say, I think what others have said is also brilliant, that there's so much opportunity and possibility when we put our money to use in these good and accessible ways. And I can imagine how much more good we could do as a city if instead of funding DMPD, we defunded DMPD and invested in accessibility like these sidewalks, as well as other projects that support the people of Des Moines, that provide shelter so that homeless people don't die in Porter.
Time.
All right. Thank you for the public comment. Could we get a motion on item 55 and 55?
Absolutely, Mayor. First off, I want to thank our city engineering. This has been a project that we've worked together for 2 years for safe routes to school, especially around Howell School, where there's never been any sidewalks. And you know, I just appreciate their hard work. And as we're moving forward, just for our speakers, as we move forward, this is out of our CIP budget. This is not out of the general fund. So as we compare, if you want to compare apples to apples, you probably need to understand how the budget works and understand how our funding works. So I will move item 55 and 55A.
All right, it's been moved. Poll the council, please.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto. Gatto.
Yes. Sorry,
Thank you.
I was muted.
7 yes, Your Honor. Motion carries.
All right, item 56 on the Ingersoll Avenue streetscape from 24th Street to 28th Street on the north side. A resolution approving the plan, specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, and receive and file bids, and designating the lowest responsible bidder as Jasper Construction Services, Inc. Clifford Rhodes is the president, $3,262,736. Council communication number 21-066. A is approving the contract, the bond, and permission to sublet. See if there's anyone who wants to speak to this. All right, seeing none, could we have a motion?
Yeah, I'm happy to move item 56 and 56A. This is a continuation of the Ingersoll Streetscape project, which is making the Ingersoll corridor more accessible and safer for pedestrians and bikers, and making it a better corridor. And it's a great investment, and the businesses have been happy with it, and I think the initial stage is going well. Glad to see it continue to move on, so happy to move this item.
All right, would you poll the council, please? Item's been moved.
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Boss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes. Motion carries.
All right. Let's note that it's 5:31 and we are closing the hearings. And that would take us now back, I believe, item 48. Item 48 is approving a proposed preliminary district plan for the Capital City Reinvestment District and approving the submission of a pre-application to the Iowa Economic Development Authority, IEDA, for a provisional approval of the district. Council communication number 21-060. Council.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I may, and I made some of these comments at our work session this morning, but think it's worthwhile to just put this in context again at the meeting. You know, I think this is a great project, and this is really about redeveloping the DICO site, which has been an ongoing problem for decades. It's a Superfund site, quite literally in our backyard for some of us in the community. And it's been a focal point for the city and a goal to get this site cleaned up and turned back into a productive use for our community for many years. And, you know, one of the things that's been interesting about the discussion, you know, some of what we've just been trying to accomplish is simply to figure out how to take the first step in getting this site cleaned up and the blighted buildings torn down so that the eyesore would be removed from the entry point to our downtown. And we've made some good progress on that front. I saw that Region 7 of the EPA put out a press release on the consent decree being approved. Just this afternoon, they put out that press release. So we're finally in a position where we're going to be getting the site cleaned up. But this proposal is really about that next step. And it's a really dynamic redevelopment plan that we have in front of us. It's centered around the proposal to bring a USL soccer team to Des Moines, which in and of itself is exciting. Soccer being a global sport, and in the US, a growing sport, and a sport that has appeal to all parts of our community and all parts of our state. So to get a team just below the MLS level is a big deal for our community. And it's great that we have the opportunity to host Iowa's team. But what this is doing, and there's always an opportunity when you have a stadium for a broader district, and you hope that follows when a stadium is built in the community. And what's great about this proposal is that transformative piece is already a part of this package. What the Kraus Group has done is they've imagined a stadium district that will serve as a connector between the western gateway of downtown and Grays Lake, connecting essentially two of the signature amenities in our community through a third in the new stadium and stadium district. And it's over $500 million in development and investment in what is currently one of the most underutilized and blighted parts of our community. There's going to be a mix of retail and office and residential, as well as the stadium project. And one of the things that is great about, and this is going to be covered in a later agenda item, but I'll talk about it now. The development includes a number of the best practices that we've been including in our development projects in recent years. So it includes working with the Mid-American New Construction Project to implement energy efficiency into all of the projects that are part of the stadium district. It includes requirements to integrate affordable housing, with 10% of all of the housing in the project being affordable at the 80% AMI, and looking at another 5% affordable at the 60% level. It includes EV charging infrastructure. And it also is an opportunity to help us solve a challenge that we've grown into downtown with the increasing frequency of community festivals in the Western Gateway area. Those festivals are great, and they're great to highlight, and it's a great part of what makes our community special and strong. But having so many festivals shut down the Western Gateway area has been disruptive for what has become a growing businesses and restaurants in that area, as well as the DART service that so many routes go through that area and have to figure out how to reroute when we host those festivals. So this will provide a potential spot for those festivals at a central location that has been designed specifically with those type of festival uses in mind. So I think this is a great project and a great application. And I want to thank the staff who've worked really hard on this: Naomi, Aaron Olson Douglas, Matt Anderson, and the entire economic development team. And I want to thank the folks at Kraus Group for bringing this project forward, for bringing professional soccer at the USL level to Des Moines and a broader vision to this district. I think this is truly going to be transformative, and look forward to seeing it move forward and get implemented. So with that, I'll move the item.
All right, the item's been moved. Would you poll the council, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes, we have one attendee that Harley had her hand up.
This is approving a preliminary district plat to send out.
Okay.
In
All
a
right.
pre-application. This is not one that we generally do it, so thank you, Carl.
Well,
are you going to vote?
Thanks for clarifying. Yes. Yeah, I voted yes. So.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Item 48I is a support of the proposed pre-application for the Merle Hay Campus Reinvestment District, Council Communication number 21-061.
Mayor, I just want to highlight this. Josh did a good job of already identifying the tremendous work on the staff of the city. Naomi, Matt, all those, we've been sitting in on meetings, and Aaron Olson Douglas, marvelous work to get this done. This is such a important engine for not only the northwest side of Des Moines, but central Iowa as a whole. They have done really a great job of reimagining that site to know that retail is not going to be the future in these malls, but to make them entertainment districts. And so working with our friends over at Urbandale, we're going to have a good comprehensive site plan that's going to be something that will support the city and our residents for many years to come. So I will be happy to move item 48I.
All right, 48I has been moved. Would you poll the council, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, 48II. This is preliminary terms for a sale and or lease of city-owned property and for an urban renewal development agreement with Kraus Plus for the phased master plan redevelopment of the approximately 60 acres of property south of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway, east of Raccoon River, and 6 acres of property in the western gateway area bounded by High Street and Grand Avenue between 15th, 16th, and 17th Streets. Council Communication number 21-062.
And Mr. Mayor, I'll move this item. I do want to say one more thing. You know, when we're talking about the development agreement piece of this, and one thing that I think is great about the way the Investment Act works, as well as the TIF incentives in this case, is it really aligns the city and state interests with the interests of the project developer, in the sense that the public dollars that will ultimately be contributed to the project are entirely project generated dollars and not an allocation or a carve out from our existing city budget. So in other words, the investment, Iowa Reinvestment Act dollars and the TIF contributions to the project don't materialize unless the project is successful, unless these developments add significant new tax value to the city, unless they generate new hotel, motel taxes and new sales tax in those specific territories. There's not going to be those dollars to go back into the project. So it really provides an incentive for the developer to make this project as successful as possible. And I think that's what we've seen with the proposal in front of us. So with that further explanation, I'll move the item.
48II has been moved. Would you poll the council, please?
County,
Yes.
Boson,
Yes.
Voss,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Westergaard,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Gatto.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, that brings us to our communications. And so quickly, for those persons wishing to speak this evening under the public speaking, we will only be calling on those who have registered to speak. And because of the number of speakers this evening, each speaker will receive about 1 minute and 40 seconds to make their comments. So please keep your own time, because at the end of that 1:40, the clerk will announce time and the speaker's mic will be closed, and we will move immediately to the next speaker. We want to hear from all of our citizens, and we encourage our citizens to be respectful of others' viewpoints that are different from their own. You may certainly disagree with that viewpoint. I want to remind everyone that council rules provide that any comments that are slanderous will result in that speaker being barred from further comment. As a presiding officer, I will determine whether comments are slanderous or not. A fair warning, arguing with a presiding officer about my determinations is not permitted, and doing so will also be considered disruptive and result in the speaker being barred from further comment. So with that, let's get started and start with Adam Callanan. Adam?
Hello, my name is Adam Callanan. I use he, him pronouns. I'm with People's Town Hall, and I'd like to talk about kind of what would be on our agenda, the people's agenda, if you will, that we're not really seeing on the council's list of priorities. It's really concerning. The main thing is COVID. We're still in a pandemic. We're still in the middle of a pandemic, even if our governor doesn't believe we are for whatever reason. And the city is still sitting on COVID relief funds. The city needs to move to approve and distribute those funds as soon as possible. I've seen us, not us, but the council calls emergency meetings for a lot of things. It'd be great if we had an emergency meeting to distribute out these relief funds that the city is for some reason sitting on. Also, just in general, the vaccinations and testing are very difficult to get here. I mentioned earlier that we're the 50th state. It'd be great if the city could put out any sort of assistance or be advocating for the people in any way to push for better vaccinations and testing, because it seems like that is not happening right now. Next up, I want to talk about housing justice a bit. We unfortunately last night, in content warning about death, a human being froze to death last night in a porta potty here in Des Moines outside of a library. This afternoon, the city then released a victim shaming set of tweets telling people to find shelter when it's cold, now acknowledging the impossibility of this task. Beyond this, the list of things that the city put out about like warming shelters, I think the latest one maybe went till 9 p.m., meaning that even with the guidance of the city, anybody who was unhoused for any reason would still be stuck on the streets outside, since a lot of them have also been evicted from their camps where they were able to build for survival and have some sort of warmth that the city has evicted them from. Yeah, I just needed to talk about that.
Time. Thank you.
Okay. Holly Herbert.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sorry, okay, I had to figure that out. First of all, I'd like to apologize for missing the last meeting. I meant to speak at that meeting. I did send an email earlier this afternoon following up on an item actually from February of 2019. There was a joint meeting between City Council and the Civil and Human Rights Commission. And as a result of that meeting, there was a joint resolution made to establish gender inclusive restrooms. So I'm wondering what's happening with that. The suggestions were to make some changes to the building code to make it so that if it's a single user facility, that it would be a gender neutral restroom. So I'm just wondering, where things are at with that. We did make a suggestion of having Keenan Crow from One Iowa help with some of the language for that. The other thing is that, well, there were quite a few things in the email that I sent, but one other thing I wanted to touch on is that we have several items in our code that allows for folks to discriminate against folks based on their sexual orientation or gender if they have a religious reason for doing so. So we are asking for City Council to consider removing those parts of the code, as we believe that sexual orientation and gender identity should be protected classes, and that folks should not be allowed to discriminate against individuals based on sexual orientation or gender identity because they have a religious objection to those items. I also did mention several things that we could do.
Thank you. Time.
All right. Molly Art.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, so my name is Molly Arndt. I use they, them, or she, her pronouns, and I live in Bill Gray's ward, Ward 1. I also wanted to speak, sorry, trigger warning, I'm going to talk about death, about the death of a community member last night, actually pretty close to my neighborhood and in Bill Gray's ward. A person died because they didn't have access to shelter last night, and that is a direct result of the failure of the Des Moines City Council to do anything to help the people that they are supposed to represent. By taking a violent and carceral approach to people experiencing houselessness, evicting people's camps, not providing adequate affordable housing in the city, and refusing to allocate funds to help house people, and by continuing to funnel money into the police budget instead, council is showing that they value violence and white supremacy over literally saving human lives. And that being said, it's, they could take action literally right now to open up public facilities and start working to make affordable housing a reality in our community, can defund the police and start reallocating those funds into things that people actually need and want. It's not too late for council to actually start making changes in our city to help save human lives. And it needs to be done immediately because it's going to be really cold for, the rest of the month, and people need these things right now. Thank you.
Brenda McDonald.
Brenda, if you're on a phone, you hit *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute yourself.
All right, let's move on to Debbie Howell.
Debbie, I believe you always use a phone as well. You have to hit *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute yourself.
Let's move on to Casey Erickson. I see a William Erickson up there. I think that may do it.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Casey Erickson. I live at 663 38th Street in Josh Mandelbaum's ward. I wanted to talk tonight. I sent all of the members of the council an email about this last week, but I wanted to talk about a project that I was a part of that you might have seen in the register at KCCI. They did stories about us as well. But we've been clearing snow off of bus stops. Right now, as you probably know, there's no mechanism, no structure in place to clear snow off of bus stops unless there is like a formal shelter, and DART cleans those. So a lot of times what happens is people have to trudge through snow. If the snowplows leave a big snowbank in the gutter, people have to climb over snowbanks that can get 2, 3, 4 feet tall. This leaves a lot of people, particularly people who have mobility issues, stranded, unable to use the bus, unable to use like our most essential public infrastructure. And so what we've been doing is just going out as volunteers and trying to clear snow off these stops. And in the last 3 weeks, we've cleared about 200 stops over 3 different days. But the thing I've learned doing this is that it's not sustainable as a volunteer effort. There's no way we can do this. There's 1,600 stops in DART system. Most of them are in Des Moines. This should be a Des Moines city issue. You guys are the only entity around that has the capacity to meet this need, and it's not being met, and people are suffering because of it. So I'd really like to see you guys step up. This is in this budget process.
Time. Thank you.
All right, Lennon Cardwell.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just wanted to say it's really disappointing that you all have again opted to throw your support behind a cop who has repeatedly proven himself to be a racist. It's not just the responsibility of the Des Moines Police Department to take disciplinary action against Brian Minahan. That's also your responsibility as the city council. When are you all going to grow a spine and stand up for your constituents who have been left defenseless to the violent actions of Minahan and others at DMPD? It seems clear that the passing of the racial profiling ban over the summer was just a charade, an attempt to generate positive PR and hope that the Des Moines public would stop putting pressure on the city to actually take action. There are devastating trends that reveal a culture of racism and a lack of accountability exist within DMPD. We are not going to stand by in silence as this continues. So why are you all standing by? Have any of you actually looked into the police officer who you are protecting? Minahan racially profiled DeJuan Haynes, Jared Clinton, and D'Amico Fugenshoe. And not only that, he started a high-speed chase in a residential area over a missing license plate, which resulted in one bystander's death and another's incarceration for 30 years. You all have stood behind him. We're all watching and taking note. You're speaking volumes with your support of Steinkamp, Minahan, and their racist colleagues. Where are the next steps you all alluded to over the summer when you passed the racial profiling ban? More needs to be done.
Jalen Cavill.
Hey, my name is Jalen Cavill. I use he, him pronouns. I just want to start by saying, I don't know why I still get surprised, but I honestly sit here and y'all really blow my mind. Just by the priorities I just set by this city and the budget that y'all lay out and the things we spend money on, from the over $70 million that's spent on the racist and violent Des Moines Police Department, not including the lawsuits and lawyer fees that are having to be paid constantly, from the $40 million that was put into a parking garage, from the river rafting project, the millions that would be dumped into this, that y'all are now pushing forward, this new soccer stadium complex that y'all are going to dump millions of dollars in, even though a millionaire like Kraus could just fund it himself. Y'all will really spend money on anything besides actually helping the people who live in this city. And it blows my mind. It really does. And trigger warning, again, I'm going to talk about death because a person did die last night. A person died outside in the cold. They froze to death because of the inaction of this city council. This person died outside of the Franklin Library, a warming center that the city is now promoting that closes at 5 and 7 p.m. on some nights. How is a person supposed to stay warm once they're kicked out of the warming center after 7 p.m.? This council does not care about the people that it's supposed to represent. This person died in Bill Gray's ward. When a constituent asked Bill Gray about this and asked him to make a statement, he said that he wouldn't because he's shy. Bill Gray needs to step down right now. He has no place representing anyone in this city. He is too shy to speak out about a death that happened in his ward. He is spineless. He should lose his seat. He will lose his election in November because people will not forget this. People will not forget the inaction of this entire council.
Time. Thank you.
Denver.
Hello, my name's Denver Foote. I use she, her pronouns, and policing is built on racism, starting in Iowa as a way to protect rich white landowners, and in the South as a way to control runaway slaves. With this history in mind, it is no surprise that council continues to uphold the police state within our own communities. It is no surprise when they continue to not hold police accountable. When I, 100-pound, 4'11" brown female walking back to my car was pushed into a dark nook away from street cameras by 3 large males with their own body cameras off. Police, meant to serve and protect, macing me multiple times, beating me with their batons as I repeated, I am not resisting, beating me so hard I suffer from permanent nerve damage, beating me so hard I suffer from PTSD and am terrified to leave my home, beating me so hard while I repeated, I am not resisting. Imagine if this happened to your own child, council, and you uplift them, vicious, rogue police officers, over your own constituents' lives. It is no surprise anymore. I am just one story of thousands within this community. When we suffer because of the police you uphold, it is blood on your hands.
Jacob Grove.
Hi. So my name is Jacob Groby. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a Des Moines resident. The viral pandemic has exposed the cracks in society that have always existed. It has required all of us to step up and do everything we can to keep our friends, family, and neighbors alive. To think deeply about all the ways we can use our power and privilege to help those in need. I ask our city council members to ask themselves, do you think you've done everything you can to prevent the countless tragedies in our community over the past year? What I've seen is the same old, same old. As community members are literally freezing to death, I'm reading another headline about your excitement for another stadium that the community doesn't even want. My, how quickly the city moves and how creative they get when it comes to ramming a development through that will primarily benefit the rich and well off. If your best response to our houseless neighbors freezing to death in the middle of the night is a post about the Merle Hay Mall being a good place to warm up, you should resign today. If your best response to a summer of police violence and terror on nonviolent protesters demanding liberation for Black, Brown, and Indigenous people is to thank the Trump-loving police chief for his service, resign today. If your best response to a police department that brazenly rejects your orders and the demands of the community is to reward them with millions more of our dollars, resign today. If you care about the public good, you can mobilize the city to provide a warm and safe room for everyone experiencing houselessness. You can hold violent white supremacists accountable by defunding police and investing into guaranteed housing, healthcare, and jobs.
Thank you. Time.
Jaleisha Johnson.
Jaleesa, are you on a phone? If you're on a phone, hit *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute yourself.
All right, let's move on to Harley Boldridge.
There, thank you. My name's Harley. I use she, they pronouns. I wanted to lift up the real discrepancies that seem to be happening with the budget. As we saw with item 48, there's a large project dedicated to an area that I currently live in with absolutely no input from the community, including myself, who was not allowed to speak on that approval number. I wanted to point out that trigger warning, also speaking about the person in our community that died last night. This district in this area that you guys have put $500 million into renovating is actually a space where we have a lot of houseless neighbors in this neighborhood. So what I've seen, just looking at the breakdown of the 2.1 million square feet that you've proposed to put money into, not tax, and then develop it as a way of quote unquote, revitalizing this decrepit area, is actually completely about the retail of a soccer team that we don't even know exists or will exist at some point. In the meantime, we have an inaccessible space here where if you are a wheelchair user, you cannot get around. And of those 2.1 million square feet, only 5,600 are actually dedicated to a space that could actually be useful to people who currently live here, which is a convenience store. Everything else is for retail, hotels, another 1,100 stall parking ramp that's supposed to be 5 stories here in this area. These are things that are really out of touch with people like me who live here, who don't have a grocery store that is easily accessible by foot and doesn't have any like affordable places to shop. If you are actually at that like 60% of AFI, which Mandelbaum actually brought up, is supposed to be a part of some of the like hotel space, multifamily retail.
Thank you. Time.
Bridget Peterson.
Hi, my name is Bridget. My pronouns are she, hers. So I am also going to speak about the person who passed away last night. I noticed this happened in my ward, which is consequently Bill Gray's ward. So I decided to call him to ask me what his plan is to make sure that doesn't happen to anyone ever again. And he admitted that I called him at like, I think like 2 o'clock-ish. And he admitted that he knew that someone had passed away, but hadn't bothered to brief himself on the details. And when I read to him details from the police scanner where I learned about this occurrence, he seemed to not believe me, which that didn't make me feel very good. He said he works, quote unquote, behind the scenes with the houseless communities. And when I asked him how familiar he was with all the mutual aid societies who have also been working with those communities, he said, what does that mean? So that was clearly not true, or perhaps it was a very slight truth that he spread really, really thin. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, I asked him if he would be willing to give a public statement about the person who passed away. And he said that he doesn't feel comfortable speaking up at city council meetings. And I said, oh, that's interesting. As a public servant, I find that strange. And he said, I'm shy. I'm a shy fella. He said, I'm shy. And yet he seems like.
Thank you. Time.
Okay. Reverend Emily E. Ewing.
Reverend Ewing, they, them pronouns. As a pastor, I look to the Christian Bible for comfort, courage, and provocation in times of distress and strain. So upon hearing of the person who froze to death last night, I was reminded of Luke 9:58. Jesus, speaking of himself, says, "Foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man, or human one, has nowhere to lay his head." Last night, Jesus died as a victim of the neglect of this city. This was not the first, nor at the rate this city and state are going, will it be the last time that we kill one of our own through neglect. It is a common practice in this city to harm our own, whether through negligence and evictions from homeless camps in order to encourage people to go to shelters, rather than providing safe and warm shelters themselves, or the violence of police brutality and the increase of funds proposed for DMPD despite the harm they cause to the people of Des Moines, or the blatant racism and disregard of you all as a city council for the incredible people who are holding down jobs, going to school, and still finding ways to be involved by attending these meetings. As a person of faith, it is abhorrent that we as a community, and you in particular, as elected representatives, are so cruel. Please, to use a biblical term, repent from the harm you continue to cause. Pick a new direction. Week after week, speakers call you to a new way of caring for the people of Des Moines. Listen to these prophets, change your ways, care for the people entrusted to your care.
Hayden Shoemaker.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I just wanted to talk about, you guys didn't want to speak on item 18I that was on the consent agenda, so I just wanted to bring it up again. I don't know why you didn't want to speak about it, since you all wanted to appoint people to this commission that's supposed to be a food security task force, but really it's just basically like a brochure on telling people how to plant a garden. Which isn't really going to help anyone who actually needs food security, because those people don't have the ability to get gardening materials. But anyways, the main problem with this is that it's all made by Ed Fallon, who is a sexual predator, and he probably shouldn't be allowed on this task force, but Connie Bozen nominated him and seems to think that it would be great to have a sexual predator on the task force. And I was looking through Twitter and I saw someone else who was on the task force saying that she had spoken to Connie Bozen, and she said that it wouldn't be a problem working with a sexual predator because it's all going to be over Zoom and it's going to be virtual anyways, so she won't be in direct danger because it's Zoom, which I think we all know is a pretty terrible thing to say to a person, especially since even if you're not going to be immediately sexually assaulted because it's over Zoom, it still is harmful for, you know, mental health to work with a sexual predator. So we probably shouldn't be telling people that it's not going to be a problem to work with them, and also probably shouldn't be nominating sexual predators to do things through the city. So I just think that you all should know what you're doing.
Vanessa?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Vanessa Moranchel. I use she, her pronouns. Trigger warning, for death. I just want to start off by saying that I thought it was really violent for the city of Des Moines to go on their social media and post their little piece of information about the warming centers that are offered. It was very clear that you posted this in response to an individual in our community passing away by freezing last night. And so you saw that and went on and said, we better go ahead and head off some of these comments we might get from concerned community members and put our list of warming centers out there. You know full well that the centers close by like 5 to 7 p.m. So this individual wouldn't have been helped by these centers. In fact, they passed away right next to one of the warming centers that you so politely and kindly listed on your site. That was extremely violent and disgusting. And so with that being said, you need to defund DMPD. And let's talk about the word defund, because when I called Connie about my concerns earlier, she did not understand what defund means. Defunding is different than abolishment. Defunding is, as she quoted, reallocating funds to different services. So let's do that. Let's reallocate some funds from DMPD to help people in our community to be able to survive. That's all we're asking for, is to be able to help people to survive. Take money from the largest budget that we have for the DMPD who harass this community and use it to help them. How long have we had a houseless community, and how long have we paid officers within the DMPD to go out and harass them and throw away all their belongings and make them?
Time, thank you.
Indira Shoemaker.
Hello. Okay, so my name is Indira Shoemaker, she, her pronouns. I would like to address a comment made earlier about Joe Gatto telling his constituents, or the constituents of the city, talking down to people and claiming that we don't know how the budget works when we ask for the police budget to be cut to fund good projects like connecting sidewalks in our city. So I want to talk about the capital improvement budget. On the finance website, it says that since CIP projects often impact operating costs, the two budgets are tied together. And then in the PowerPoint that you all got during your quarterly work session this week, we see listed as part of the funding for the CIP is the general fund. So if we can talk about cutting police budget from the general fund, some of that can go to capital improvement projects. So I just want to, not allow people to talk down to their constituents telling us that we don't know how it works. Because also I want to acknowledge the fact that that is a failure on council and the city's part, that your citizens don't know how to engage with their government. If that is the case, it is your job to make sure that we know what's going on. You're literally holding public hearings about the budget. We should know what's going on. So if we're sitting here like talking about something and you think that we don't understand the problem, that's a failure on your part. When an entire class fails in school, they don't say that all those children failed. They said the teacher fails teaching them. So I also want to talk about the fact that general fund goes into CIP, but also a lot of that money comes from general obligation bonds, which could absolutely be used to fund projects like housing and sidewalks and things like that. But you guys only use that for big development projects and you don't ever use it for housing. In fact, most of the items regarding sidewalks in the CIP are funded by general obligation bonds or by TIF. I also want to talk about TIF and how you guys claim that these big developments that you're subsidizing.
Time, thank you.
Leah Platt.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name's Leah Plath. I go by she, her pronouns. Trigger warning for death. I also want to speak on the death of a community member last night. I'm from Ward 1 myself. It's just so disheartening and, like Vanessa said, violent that the same day after this news came out, that the city of Des Moines put on their Facebook, quote, "These wind chills can be dangerous if precautions are not taken. Residents are reminded to avoid exposure to the extreme cold and to take precautions if they absolutely must be outside," unquote. They shouldn't have to be outside. Like, what precautions do you want them to take when you don't offer them any outlet to keep warm in our community, especially if these are closing before like the night is over? They don't have anywhere to go. And you guys just love the police here in Des Moines, but they're the ones who are tearing down these homeless camps, these unhoused camps. With like, what are they supposed to do? Those are the precautions they can take, and yet those are destroyed, and then they have to keep repeating the cycle while you guys have nothing of value to give them. You don't actually care. You just want it to seem like you care. Anyway, there are better things you can do. I'm always brought back to the fact that it doesn't have to be this way. There are better and kinder ways to be as a community. And I hope you guys have really listened to all of us talk about.
Thank you. Time.
All right, that brings us to the end of our request to speak, and we have completed the hearings. We get a motion to receive and file all comments from our citizens on item 49A through R.
Mayor, I'll move item 49A through R. And just a clarification, Mayor, maybe you or Scott has had discussion with Melissa O'Neill. There is still beds at the shelter, correct?
Yes, as of yesterday morning.
Okay. So I think that definitely needs to be said. We need to be able to get people inside and encourage them to go inside. I know we face this problem every winter, and we face it every summer when it's over 100 degrees. And so it's a tragic thing, but however we can get the word out, that's what we need to do to make sure that people know there is a safe place and a bed and a warm food that they can go to and kept warm.
Mayor, if I could also add that the city helps pay for additional hotel space as well, so that not only do they stay warm, but safe from COVID as much as possible as well. There are arrangements with DART to get transportation to not only Melissa with the CIS, but also some of the private shelters as well. So we will look at trying to get that information out even further into the community.
Yeah, but I will move 49A through R, Your Honor, to receive and file all the comments today.
All right.
Hey, I also wanted to bring up, there was comments made about eviction of the houseless. And during this weather, I was told that they do not move people out during this kind of weather. I'm not saying they aren't getting eviction notices, but they don't move people out.
All right. Yep, the item has been moved. All in favor, say aye.
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 Right. Sounds like it's unanimous. Again, I thank everyone for attending. I want to thank the staff for your comments to help clarify a few things this evening. And until next time, let's call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all for attending.